Victorian London, the end of the 19th century. A man escorts a woman. The filth and muck of Whitechapel district low beneath their feet. The woman asks questions and gobbles the grapes the man has given her, a token of goodwill. The sweet taste of laudanum is alien to her. The man assures his master is a fine gentleman, the finest in all the land. The odd couple arrives at the carriage. The master jumps out in one predatory leap, a magnificent feat for a man in his late 60s. He pins the woman down against the cold cobblestones. No sound escapes her lips. With one determined swipe of a Liston's knife, the fine gentleman cuts open the woman's throat. Blood gushes out, paints the man in a grim crimson hue. He starts his great work, unbothered by the public display of this ritual. With a steady hand, the master mutilates the woman. He removes organs, carves out pieces, makes new orifices to where there were none before. Now the great work is done. The man falls down to his knees and gazes into the night sky, into the majesty he has unveiled. Basked in the harsh, brilliant light of a skyscraper, he lets out a rapturous cry of awe, a cry of victory, and reaches his hands towards the heavens. This scene is from the graphic novel From Hell, created by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. The legacy of Jack the Ripper forms the core of this story, the mythos and numerous conspiracy theories that still surround those murders. But to say From Hell is about Jack the Ripper is akin to saying the Bible is about a dude who gets crucified. From Hell is a surreal and disturbing descent into the rabbit hole of, well, not everything, but something one or two pegs from that. It's about the sordid history of the British Empire and how its tendrils reach back to the beginnings of Western civilization, the dismal conditions of lower working class and misfortunates of the industrial period. It's about the nature of time and space, of our capability to perceive those structures, of the eternal reoccurrence, the predestination of certain fates, of the nature of magic and the occult, of man's potential to affect the natural world through words, acts, and rituals. From Hell's a rapturous vision that reaches through past and present, through time and space. Underneath this gruesome story are innumerable streams of thought that together form something unruly. An arcane wellspring from which the prophets, mystics, artists, and madmen alike have drank since the dawn of mankind. From Hell isn't structured like a detective novel. A crime is discovered, the detectives on the case investigate said crime. More troubling matters surface. A race against time ensues as the investigators follow clues, hints, and premonitions, while the reader speculates alongside them on the who, the why, and the how. Twists, revelations, dead ends, and red herrings. In the end, a breakthrough is achieved. The detectives confront the parties responsible, and all is laid open. Alan Moore takes a different approach. The mystery of From Hell doesn't revolve around the who, nor the how, or the why. The assailant is revealed to us from the start. Sir William Gull, the Crown's physician, a doctor, a surgeon, a master Templar, a man of fierce intellect, stature, and skill par excellence. We are privy to the answers from the start: Gull's renowned medical expertise, social status, pathological tendencies, childhood, family life, and his connections to the powers that be. The reasons why the murders are viable and necessary. The culprit, the motive, the shadows behind the curtain, the grand conspiracy. All our questions are answered right from the start. Moore gives focus to the ripples these murders create, how the acts of violence reverberate through society, history, and even time and space. The carnage of Whitechapel as an allegorical womb for the modern age. Gull shields the crown from an internal threat, but his own motivations lay elsewhere. He seeks to reform the zeitgeist, to fortify the current world against the chaotic future through rituals of blood and death. He must do what no man has done to shield the world from horrors no one has known. Chaos must be kept at bay. The very streets of London become a backdrop for this conflict, both mythic and mystic in its nature. Their history and architecture, the obelisks, churches, primordial landmarks and roads form a map, an arcane spiderweb tuned to the frequencies only William Gull appears to hear. Gull's rituals pave the way for the upcoming century. Rise of the working class, the collapse of the British Empire, the ascent of the Third Reich, the birth of the vulturous yellow media, the revolution of the socialist agenda, anti-Semitism that escalates to the horrors of the Holocaust, women's rights, the seeds of a world at war. All these new ideals resonate, brush and bruise against each other. A new world crawls out of the decayed, calcified remains of the old, out of a world that's desperate to remain, with an ever weaker iron grip. At the center lays William Gull, the midwife and executioner of this new world, the eternal masculine sun against the feminine moon. There is another story I'm fond of. It too, set in Victorian London. It too centers around one man's prophecies of mankind's future and the horrid means necessary to stave off that future. In Amnesia, a machine for pigs, you play as Oswald Mandus, a wealthy cosmopolite and an industrialist, a meat factory owner and a pillar of the community. You wake up on New Year's Eve, 1899, in your chambers and discover you've lost your memory. You have amnesia. The only thing etched to your fever-ridden mind, your two sons, Edwin and Enoch, are in danger. They are gone, taken to the dark bowels of the mansion, to the heart of darkness, taken by some monstrosity, the feathered serpent, the jaguar-faced man, trapped inside some strange, broken machine that resides under the manor. Their tiny lungs fill up with bilge water, sewage and excrement this very moment. You need to find them. You need to fix the machine. With only shards of your memories and a cryptic voice to guide you, you plunge into the depths. Amnesia, a machine for pigs, is not a complicated game. I wouldn't call it a good game either. Very little of the moment-to-moment gameplay feels inspired or engaging to tackle. Monotonous corridors, meaningless puzzles, homogeneous encounter design, an ever-present darkness that makes the game unruly to navigate. Blue-hued cobblestone, metallic corridors, tile-stone-covered sewers. The color palette changes, but the darkness is eternal. But a machine for pigs more than makes up for these shortcomings with sheer atmospheric prowess. Most of the heavy lifting is done by Jessica Curry's haunting soundtrack. Low, slow atonal bass and cello accompany prepared piano-type stabs. The swishes, clanks, swells and squeaks raise your hairs and clench your butt cheeks in all the right ways. But it's the somber moments where the game and Curry's soundtrack shine brightest. When the music ditches the low, atonal soundscapes and opts instead towards a more classical approach, operatic female vocals, lonely cellos, a bass piano. It's the oldest trick in the book, but it's executed with great finesse and taste. The way these themes and gruesome visuals come together is glorious to behold. The man-pigs fill the role of the horrible monsters that lurk in the darkness. Their presence is a disturbing mix of horror and sadness. They are 500 pounds of flesh-eating man-beasts of pure horror, yet still you can't but feel sorry for them. Inflamed it is, burning it does, bleeding from each hole, fore and aft, leaking down my legs, blood and excrement. My lungs are in my vomit. I pass cloths of my organs now onto the filthy stone. Drink this, he says. And I did drink it. I did do that. Because of the changes, they ripple in me. My teeth sneeze out and scatter like mice in the dark. I cannot find them all. Gathered what I can. Push them back into my grey gums with my fingers, but the nails are all weepy and falling out. Drink it, he says. It'll help. It'll help the running of the fever, because not all of us can take the change. On the other table, a beast under a blanket. I never wanted to see under that, but he drank it too. He passed it under the blanket, and I heard it drink. Dear God Almighty, how can a man shit so much blood and still live? An imprisoned pig plays with toys. Another is chained from neck to a wall. It lashes out. Only once, then it sits defeated in the dark, damp corner. A grotesque feast on a lavish wooden table. A mutilated pig on the church altar. Its glass murals are painted with images of a strange machine, a feathered serpent, and a jaguar-faced man. It's the tonal contrast that carries these moments. A machine for pigs is filled to the brim with blood, excrement and sewage. Undiscernible liquids flow around us, stain everything around us. It's impossible to determine whether it's blood or some other bodily fluids. You're grateful of your ignorance. In the midst of all this grime, a slight moment of beauty feels sublime. But the beauty is always served with a macabre touch. The operatic soundtrack evokes a fateful undertone. This aura of impending doom bound to take place, as if ordained by fate. You know this feeling all too well. When you watch a story unfold and realize in that moment, in your heart of hearts, this shit will end nasty. Moores and Campbell's dedication to historical accuracy in From Hell is staggering in its depth. The buildings, the interiors of the rooms, street names, people involved in certain incidents, their personal relationship and traits, the timeline of the events. This meticulous adherence to accuracy creates an uncanny aura around the novel. The fidelity gives the story clout, but more important, it sparks resonant unease when we are met with the ineffable aspects of the story. When you descend through hell, the last thing you want is for it to look familiar. There is another reason why the reader's relationship with William Gull is troublesome. He is right. We know he is right. His rapturous visions are of the world we inhabit. The skyscrapers, TVs, flats, office cubicles. We recognize this world from his vision. This is the world we live in. This is our world. The 20th century was and will be born in form and spirit, just as William Gull envisioned. But Gull is a madman, right? He dissected 5 women out in the open on the streets of London. He is a figure of immense social stand, untouchable thanks to his status and wealth of powerful associates up to the highest echelons of the monarchy. He's a viper of the corrupt plutarchy, if there ever was one. He's a zealot who dissects women with fervorous delight. How do we reconcile the fact William Gull, in all his horrid insanity, is correct about the world he has undertaken to create? Gull's ascent begins with a stroke. During this seizure, he receives visions of Jabulloch, the highest deity in the Masonic tradition. This theophany exposes Gull's mission in life to him. 7 decades he stood in waiting. He returns to the city, a changed man. A scandal brews within the royal family, and Gull, a trusted associate of the crown, is called upon. Prince Albert, the black sheep of the royal family, has married a commoner from Whitechapel district. The prince, who has a habit to get his dick inside people not supposed to have his dick inside them, has got his new wife pregnant. He sired an heir to the throne of Britain with a woman who's oblivious to her husband's true identity. When the Queen gets wind of the situation at hand, her resolve is quick and harsh. The prince is seized by Victorian G-men, and the wife is lobotomized by William Gull. The child, a rightful heir to the throne of the empire, is brought to her grandparents by Walter Sickert, a friend of Prince Albert and thus aware of the situation. When the grandparents receive the child and hear their daughter has gone soft in the head, Annie's father breaks down. He prays for forgiveness through tear-stained eyes. He assumes the child, and Annie's fall into madness is a result of his incestuous affair with his daughter. Distraught, Walter leaves. The scandal seems to be resolved until a group of Annie's friends, witnesses to her marriage and privy that something sinister became of her, decide to blackmail Sickert, a desperate attempt to make ends meet. For Mary Kelly, Polly Nichols, Anna Chapman, Liz Stride and Catherine Eddowes, this plot proves a mistake. They have no idea of the magnitude and withdrawal of the hornet's nest there to poke. William Gull is enlisted once again, this time to silence the blackmailers, enemies and traitors to the crown. Gull's Masonic ties ensure the police won't interfere with his mission. He's free to resolve the situation however he sees fit. The powers that be aren't aware Gull isn't about to wash the problem away discreetly. He means to drown it in blood. Before he embarks on his crusade, William takes a coach ride through London where he confides his plan to his driver. Gull lays bare his thoughts and motives, reveals the true nature of what is about to transpire. Poor, simple Netley is drowned under lectures on occult magic, ancient traditions and its ties to London's architecture. Their trek across ancient landmarks forms a pattern, a hunting ground. With history, time and space, and the forces of the cosmos itself by his side, Gull begins his hunt, a ritual to birth a new era. The new world already crowns in front of his eyes. These acts of violence are not murders to Gull. They are rites of transformation, incantations of action and intention. Gull seeks to connect with the transcendent, but also to shape and alter its nature. Each murder, each escalation in brutality takes Gull ever further into his visions, allows him not only to peer deeper and receive more insight, but to interact with the potential world he molds. The laws of reality crumble, and the feeble fabric of time and space is torn further with each cut. Gull walks through an alley. Through the window, he sees a man in front of a TV. The man too, transfixed by a sight of a Victorian gentleman in the dim alley. After one of Gull's visions, Netley exclaims in relief he'd lost his master in the darkness, as if Gull had somehow faded away in front of him. When Netley asks where his master vanished, "Not far, Netley, not far. With more effort, I believe I might go further. One more, just one more would have done it. I have had intimations, Netley, intimations of magnificence and terror. The final, fifth murder would be his masterpiece." You recover pieces of your lost memory on your descent towards the heart of the machine. Something happened. A vacation with the boys. You visited someplace. Something vile happened. You returned from your retreat a changed man. A philanthropist turned his back to all mankind. Under the fluorescent light, your fever-ridden eyes now saw what we, mankind, truly were. We are all the pig. You created this facility, reimagined a meat factory for a new glorious purpose. A machinery to make people into what they are underneath their skin, under their vile person suits. The letters, notes and documents you recover on your way reveal more of the horror. The machinery is just as grotesque as its end product. Blood, feces, fat, excrete, sweat, grime and filth fill the floors, the air, the machinery. The flow of excrement is harvested into energy, into heat, steam and fire, which gives way for more grime to flow. This machine runs on filth. The folk transformed into pigs are lower class workers, homeless, prostitutes, delinquents and soft-headed folk. They are the filth of the society, and their filth empowers this machine. Unwanted children scrub the insides of the pipes, ducts and valves. They wash away the grime. Not much else remains of those who don't survive the process. Accidents are common. Things break. Pipes leak. Sometimes the pipes can't contain the hot steam, and the drudge turns into the very matter scrubbed off by the next in line. Why children, you ask? Because they fit inside the tight pipes. There will always be orphans, beggars, homeless, hopeless, prostitutes, unwanteds and no-goods up for swallow. This machine breaks the laws of nature itself. It's a machine of perpetual motion. The machine is eternal. You've made all the repairs and thwarted the attempts of the unknown saboteur. From the control room you can restart the machinery, flush the bilge bumps, empty the excrement-filled pools that threaten to drown your boys. You flick the switch, and unbeknownst to you, condemn mankind to a horrifying end. The 10th chapter from Hell it's something alright. For 34 long pages we witness Gull carve up a woman. No stone is left unturned. The destruction enforced on this woman's body is presented in almost reverent intricacy. Panel upon panel, page after page. Campbell's chosen style, the harsh, minimalistic black and white line work starved of detail, doesn't make this scene any easier to digest. Quite the contrary. The "what the hell am I looking at here" nature of these panels reels your imagination towards all the horrifying details not present in the pictures. Most of the chapter is dialogue-free. The silence is broken only by visions into which and from William fades. Fervorous mythological insight mixes with clinical details of the body. Gull lectures to an intrigued audience about the anatomical intricacies of his awe-inspiring work. A moment later, he sees flashes of ancient deities, tablets carved in stone. The past, the present, the future bleed from and into one another. Upcoming events flicker between the times past. Myth and reality, time and space shift underneath his feet. Only the great work remains constant, the center of the cosmos. In his climax, Gull receives a rapturous vision of the coming age, of the 20th century he's worked so hard to deliver. Horrified, Jack the Ripper condemns the upcoming century. "Dear God, what is this aether I am come upon? What spirits are these laboring in these heavenly lights? No, this is dazzle, but not yet divinity. Nor are these heathen wraiths about me spirits, lacking even that vitality. What then? Am I, like Saint John the Divine, vouchsafed a glimpse from the last times? Are these the days my death shall spare me? It would seem we are to suffer an apocalypse of cockatoos, morose, barbaric children playing joylessly with their unfathomable toys. Where comes this dullness in your eyes? How has your century numbed you so? Shall man be given marvels only when he is beyond all wonder? Your days were born in blood and fires, whereof in you I may not see the meanest spark. Your past is pain and iron. Know yourselves. With all your shimmering numbers and your lights, think not to be inured to history. Its black roots to cause you. It is inside you. Are you asleep to it, that you cannot feel its breath upon your necks, nor see what soaks its cuffs? See me, wake up and look upon me. I am come amongst you. I am with you always. You are the sum of all preceding you, yet seem indifferent to yourselves. A culture grown in disinterest, even in its own abysmal wounds. Your women all but show their sexes, yet this elicits not a flicker of response. Your own flesh is made meaningless to you. How would I seem to you? Some antique fiend or a penny dreadful horror, yet you frighten me. You have not souls. With you, I am alone. Alone in an Olympus. Though accomplished in the sciences, your slightest mechanics are beyond my grasp. They humble me, yet touch you at all. This disaffection, this is Armageddon. Gal carves out the woman's heart and burns it to ash in the kettle. A white light sears the room, lights up the alley. Later, in the courtyard, he releases the ashes into the wind. The night breeze carries the woman's heart into the night sky. It is beginning, Natalie, only just beginning. For better or for worse, the 20th century. I have delivered it. I'm finished. I have been climbing, Natalie, all my life towards a single peak. Now I have reached it. I have stood and felt the wind. I have seen all the world beneath me. Now there is only the descent, only the valley. Would that I had died there, Natalie, in that light above the cloud line. I am cold. Take me home. Later, by a seeming stroke of a cosmic joke, Gull is captured. The Masonic Order sweeps his arrest under the rug, and the trial is held in secrecy. Gull is all but consumed by his visions. He has no peers in these halls. No one but God is worthy to judge his great work. He is delivered to a mental asylum as a John Doe. He is lobotomized and locked away. There, he'd spent the final years of his life. You flick the switch, and the machine springs to life. It unleashes the man-pigs upon the world. The purge, the great cleansing, has begun. The pigs trap, kidnap, maim, have their way, kill and eat everyone and everything on their way. Men, women, children. They take their spoils to the heart of the machine. There, the main parts will be reused, revived as a part of the swine horde. More and more pigs run rampant on the streets, collect more and more people to craft more pigs to run rampant on the streets to collect more people to create more pigs. It's a cycle that ends only once there is no one left to collect. You escape through the ravaged streets and marvel in awe of the horror you've created. It dawns on you, only you can end this. You need to return to the heart of the machine and destroy it. You remember the breadcrumb trails you followed. Broken cylinders, removed cogs, smashed fuses were laid out by you. The saboteur was you. Moments before your final solution, you had a brief moment of clarity in your fever-ridden mind, but it was too late to erase everything you'd done. You had already given the machine a heart and a soul. Your heart, your soul. The machine was alive, sentient, and it knew what needed to be done. So you ran away, smashed pieces of the machinery on your way. You removed valves and cogs, laid bare documents and diary entries. You made it back to your manor, into your room, where you collapsed on the floor. There you dreamt of monsters. The feathered serpent, the jaguar-faced man. They crawled out of their stone-hewn temples to steal your children. This is where we started our journey. The fever, along with all the horror, broke your mind. Shattered, it sought refuge in amnesia. You wake up and find your children missing. The nightmares became true. The jaguar-faced man has them. You descend back to the depths, follow the same route, mend the damages, repair the machine, undo everything you worked so hard to achieve. What happened in that temple? What led you to realize we are all the pig? What did you see? You saw the future, the 20th century, what was to become of mankind. You saw your boys drown in mud and shrapnel in the fields of Somme, a child's shadow burnt into the brickwork, a house of skulls in the jungle. You caught a glimpse of the coming century in all its glory and decided to spare your sons and the whole of mankind from such horror. Your children were never taken from their beds in the darkness of the night. They never made it home. They never made it back from the jungle. You killed your children on the stone steps of the temple, overcome by the horror and despair of the coming century, an act of all-encompassing fatherly love. To spare them from the future, only you were privy to witness. You smashed their heads in and carved open their chests. You sacrificed their hearts to the gods, those things which dwelled in the temple, to obtain the means to do what's necessary. You returned to London from the jungle with a mysterious stone egg, the cracked skulls of your children, and a newfound resolve to make the world a better place. Years after the murders, forgotten on a cold cobblestone floor, Gull receives a final rapturous vision. And goddammit, it's something all right. Freed from the shackles of flesh and the laws of time and nature, he flies through history, ascends and descends through centuries. Gull witnesses, entices incidents, some referenced by him throughout the narrative. He races back and forth through reality and wanders this new state of existence. Is death a door from time into a new lucidity? The doctor in me weighs the facts of my new circumstance as I descend. He becomes a zeitgeist, an invisible curve rising through the centuries. He is the ghost of the fleeing William Blake's visions, the apparition on the Tower Bridge. He is a whisper in the wind, the haunting words in the ears of serial killers who were and are to be. He is what goes snap in their heads, the resolve that steadies their knife-wielding hands. He is the rain of blood over the Mediterranean Sea and the pale blue light in the tower, the sensation that makes horses nervous and dogs lift their ears in the darkness. He is, was, will be, and becomes all at once. I am escaped from space into the sphere of mind and myth and angels. I am not a man so much as syndrome, as a voice that bellows in the human heart. I am a rain, I cannot be contained. Free of life, how then will I be shackled? Free of time, how then shall history be my cage? I am a wave, an influence. I am wholly a concept now, all things to all men. The sun, the golden shine over the obelisk, pulls him up towards his becoming. High above the clouds, the giants of the old welcome him amongst them. Gods, prophets, shamans, madmen. Beings of renown beckon Gull to view the mortal plane one last time before his ascent towards creation's crown. He sees a woman on the fields, Mary Kelly perhaps, who managed to escape the clutches of the Masonic Order, the Crown, as well as Gull himself. The woman hearkens to Gull with terrible ferocity in her eyes. Such ferocity Gull admits to fear her. She spites Gull and curses him back to the hell where he came from. This is the last thing Gull sees before he ascends to the golden heavens and becomes a god. After this apotheosis, William Gull, the infamous Jack the Ripper, sighs his last breath. The machine pleads its case to us one last time, desperate to halt your progress. The tone of its voice has changed. the arrogance, the Mephistophelian declarations of cleanse and filth are all but gone. Despair seeps through the machine's words. How could it not? It has seen what lies in wait for us. A surreal sight lies in wait as we reach the end of our road.
I have stood knee-deep in mud and bone and filled my lungs with mustard gas. I have seen 2 brothers fall. I have lain with holy wars and copulated with the autumnal fallout. I have dug trenches for the refugees. I have murdered dissidents where the ground never thaws and starved the masses into faith. A child's shadow burnt into the brickwork. A house of skulls in the jungle. The innocent Manders trod and bled and gassed and starved and beaten and murdered and enslaved. This is your coming century. They will eat the Manders. They will make pigs of you all, and they will bury their snouts into your ribs, and they will eat your hearts. I am begging you. You made me. You are my creator, my father. You cannot destroy me. Please, Manders, no. For your children.
Can such horror be allowed to exist? Would you be so vile, so cruel, as to let such a world be born? We sit down, and for a split moment, time stands still. We can draw out this moment for all eternity perhaps, if we wish so. But in the end, we have to make a decision. And, on our dying breath, we give birth to the 20th century.
I lay there and watched the God I had created die. At the end, when we were cold as the stone we had hewn his body from, when the lights were nearly all extinguished, we heard, in the silent distance, the man-pigs singing to one another. Then, as the last lights were gone, and we lay together in the deep, they drifted away, and all was silent. Such a silence I have never known. And as the dust settled on my open eyes, and we lay together embraced forever, I heard, miles above us, the sounds of the city turning over in its sleep. The church bell ringing out, and in that moment, the new century